Hi, everyone. We're excited you could join us today for a new session, How to Use AI to Solve Business Problems. This past marathon features back-to-back live webinars delivered by expert speakers from the past community. The sessions will be recorded and posted online after the event. You will receive an email letting you know when the recordings are available. My name is Michael John. I've been at this for quite a while, and there's a few introductory slides before I hand over the reins to Anu. If you need technical assistance, please use the question pane located on the right side of your screen and someone will assist you. The question pane is also where you may ask any questions. Feel free to enter your questions at any time, and once we get to the end section, the Q&A portion, we'll read the questions aloud to the speaker. You can zoom in and out on the presentation content by using the zoom button located at the top of the presentation window. And at the end of the session, you're going to receive a short evaluation. These are important. It'll pop up at the end, and the speaker, as well as past, uses these evaluations to further make our future presentations better. The next slide to look at is PASS provides learning all year long. There's any number of different resources available for free through PASS. We have the summit, which isn't free. That is 3 days in November 5th. The local user groups, the SQL Saturdays, which are something I attend frequently. The virtual groups, again, I take advantage of them. PASS marathons, which you are in right now, and volunteering. PASS always needs folks to help out. We're all volunteers and we're all doing this for free, and lending your time if you can spare it is wonderful. The PASS Summit, again, is November 5th in Seattle, Washington. There are many discount coupons if you choose to attend. If you're a member of the local user group, you could use their discount coupons if need be. But it's definitely worthwhile if for no other reason than you get to put faces to all those folks you read about online. This session is presented by Anu. Anu is a data and AI consultant with over 15 years of experience working design and development of data warehouse, business intelligence, AI-enabled applications, and software as a service integrated solutions. She's a Microsoft MVP data platform for the data platform, a Microsoft certified trainer, and she's passionate about sharing her knowledge. She loves solving complex business problems and innovative solutions using technology. And now, let's have Anu do her thing. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Michael. Hope everyone can hear me. Just in case if you can't, just put it on the chat window so I will know about that. Great. So my name is Anupama Natarajan. So you can call me as Anu. And I'm basically a data and AI consultant. And Pearl Innovations is basically my own company that I run. And today's title is around how do we use AI to solve business problems. We'll be pretty much looking at the Azure Cognitive Services in action. So I'm speaking here from Seattle for a change this time. I'm basically living in New Zealand, and I came here for MVP Summit to Seattle. And so good morning to everyone from Seattle, and hopefully the rest of the people from wherever part of the world you're attending the seminar. Just a good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Great. Just move on to the next thing. So the agenda for today's session, I'll just introduce around what is AI, the artificial intelligence. What are the goals that AI is trying to achieve? And after that, we'll be looking briefly around the different cognitive services that are available in the world of AI. This is predominantly looking at the stack that Azure offers. And specifically out of the cognitive services, in today's session, we will be drilling down more into the Vision APIs. And Vision APIs is not just a single API here. It comprises of n number of APIs. And within Vision API, the target for today's session is around Computer Vision API. So what you will get to know from this session is what is Computer Vision API, and how do I really get started using Computer Vision API, and basically like what is the pricing model, because whenever we look at any services on Azure, pricing is an important factor everyone consider. And then we'll be looking at how do I use the computer vision API in real world scenario? So we have already seen a lot of demos and things using, we will be seeing through the getting started itself. But then if you want to take a real world use case and think about like, how do I apply computer vision API? We will further look at that through another demo in this session. And finally, the references section will provide you the links that I have used in these examples and some of the demos which I showcased to you. I will be talking about looking at the API reference documentation and so on. So all those links which I am talking about during the session, you'll be finding it at the references section of the slide. Great. Without any further delay, we'll get started. So what is artificial intelligence? So artificial intelligence is a way of making a computer or a computer-controlled robot or a software think intelligently in the same way how intelligent humans think. So that is pretty much the important thing here. So it is all about how do we make systems to think in the same way the humans think, and even a better way and intelligently, on how intelligently it can think like humans or even better than humans. And that's what artificial intelligence is. So the key goals of what AI is trying to achieve is to create expert systems. So we normally build a lot of systems, but what AI brings into those systems is more around the intelligence. So you can feed information to AI systems. It can learn through the feeding of the information, and it can fine tune itself in its responses that it provides to other people. And also, like, it is used to create human intelligence in missions. So systems doesn't have any human intelligence, but depending on the type of scenarios and things, human knows how to react. How do you bring those type of reactive measures into the systems? And that's what artificial intelligence is about. And building artificial intelligence systems, like people talk about chatbots and other things, they are quite easy. There are a lot of websites like you can jump on, and they give you ability to build chatbots on the fly. But building intelligent artificial intelligence systems is not easy. So adding intelligence to an existing application, that's where the smartness of AI is. So let us briefly look at an introduction about cognitive services. So if you take about the Microsoft Cognitive Services, they are nothing but a catalog of a set of all the APIs. And these APIs are categorized under different categories like vision, speech, language, knowledge, and search. So under vision, if you look at it, like you have the video indexer, you have the computer vision, you have the face API that allows you to recognize faces. You have content moderator. So if you want to moderate the content and look for like any words that is not acceptable words that needs to be detected and stuff, you can use that. You have custom vision API, like the computer vision API and custom vision API. There are some variations about that. So I will talk about that when we delve deeper into computer vision API. So under speech, then you have the speech to text API that allows you to do the translation, and text to speech, again, it converts. Your speech translation, which supports translating your speech into different languages, and also the speech recognition. So certain things, some of these APIs are still in preview mode. I have just highlighted them as preview so that you can go back and check them when they become GA. Similarly, the language, it has got the text analytics, which allows you to do the sentimental analysis, Bing spell check, the translator text API, Lewis, which is the language understanding, intelligence service. So that allows you to, how do you just incorporate intelligence in your applications? And pretty much Lewis is really handy for that. And content moderator. And finally, under knowledge, you have got the Q&A maker. So I don't know how much of you have heard about Q&A maker. Q&A maker is again a service provided in order to just take any of your FAQs sitting in Word documents, PDFs, or Excel spreadsheets, or even like product manuals, and you can convert them into a bot. So without writing a single line of code. So that is pretty much handy with Q&A maker. And finally, the search. So you have got n number of APIs within search, as you can see, like because the Bing search is wide. So you can search for videos, search for text, search for images, search for visuals, and you can even build custom search using those APIs. And there is one which currently is in preview mode, which is the Bing local business search. You can search for local businesses using those APIs. So this is a huge catalog of the Microsoft Cognitive Services. As you look here, like any of these APIs can be easily pluggable into your applications, and immediately you can make your applications much more intelligent. What comes with these services? Yes, it is the platform of Azure, which is around pay as you go. Like say the way how you are consuming these services, you will be just paying for the amount of consumption of these APIs. Great. So let us drill down into one particular category of the cognitive services stack, which is the Vision APIs. And within Vision API, I think we are specifically going to look at Computer Vision API in detail in this session. So Computer Vision API, and the other one which I will also highlight here is the Custom Vision service. So the difference between them is Computer Vision API is pretty much like a predefined models. So these models have been trained with a lot of information that Microsoft have already got in their catalog, and they have trained the Computer Vision in API in such a way like it can detect information out of images. While custom vision services, like if you have defined images that you want, like you want have a categorization of images that you want to train, you want to build models, and then you want to use it, then that's when you will be switch over to more around the custom vision service. But our session today focuses on computer vision API, which is more about getting valuable information out of images. I think everyone has got currently like we capture wealth of images, but it is really hard to get valuable information out of those images. Even starting from, I go for a lot of trips and throughout the world, and I take a lot of photographs, but sitting down and categorizing them is a painful process. But if I have an application that I can write and say like, here you go, here is all my images, just categorize them or and store them on a blob storage by like the countries I visited, and if it can recognize in terms of some of the what I say like uh, some of the places that I have gone through, like the seven wonders of the world or something like that, it can categorize it. Or I can go down to that, say like, okay, if it is building, if there are building related images, just move that over here. If there are there are famous personalities like the back statues where I go and take photographs and things, it can detect through that, then I can categorize that. So you can do a lot of things like that personally using computer vision API. But I think when it comes to real world scenarios, yes, there are a lot of advantages of using computer vision API too. So why computer vision API? It is a cloud-based API like any other Azure services. So it has got a predefined set of algorithms that will process the images and basically return valuable information out of the images. We'll be seeing what type of information that we will get out of computer vision API shortly. So it works on popular image formats like JPEG, PNG, BMP, or GIF. The main criteria is the size should be less than 4 meg. If it is more than 4 meg, currently it doesn't support. The dimensions should be greater than 50 by 50 pixels. And I think you can understand it because the more the good the resolution is, the dimension is, then it's easy for extracting the information out of the images. And especially if you want to do OCR, the dimension must be between 5050 and 4200 by 4200 pixels, because that allows the extracting the information, especially when it comes to OCR. Great. So without any further delay, we'll just quickly jump into a simple demo just to get you started with the computer vision API. Some of the prerequisites that you need to know before you jump into creating an example using computer vision API is you need to have a free Azure subscription. I think if you have an Azure subscription, that is well and good. If not, like you can subscribe for a free one. And the second thing is, if you have Visual Studio, like if you can just get it as a, even the community edition should be suffice for this example that I'm going to showcase to you. I think those are the two things, and just a little bit knowledge about JSON, because the information that you are going to get out of the computer vision API is going to be JSON. So it is good to have a little bit of knowledge to interpret the output. And I think that's the core thing that you really need. So let us quickly get into Azure so that you can see. So this is currently my Azure portal. So what I have really got here is, I'll just get back to my subscription. So I have a resource group called webinars, and I have provisioned a Vision Cognitive Services Vision API service here. So what I'll do is, if you want to provision your own, so what you can just do is click on add. So in the marketplace, you can search for computer vision. So as you can see here, select on computer vision. Great, just to hit on create. Great, so you need to just provide a name for your vision service. Then you can choose a subscription under which you need to create the location and the pricing tier. So you can choose either F0 or S1 depending on the type, how much calls you will be making, and under the resource group where it needs to be created. So it's as simple as such, like how do you really create a service, computer vision service here. Once you have created, so what you could see is this is the Vision API service that I have created for this session. Great. So this normally gets created. So there are two key information that you need once you have created your computer vision API. So the first key information, which is normally available under the overview tab, is the endpoint. So let's just zoom this and showcase it here. So you can see here the endpoint. This is really important. So if you can just take a copy of your endpoint, that is the first important thing. And the second thing is the access keys. So you need to know the access key. So either key 1 or key 2, it doesn't matter, but use your access keys. That's how you will be able to know that you are accessing the computer vision API from your cloud thing. So those are the two things you really need. So once you have got that, we are going to create a simple console application. That's what I have done here. So what I have really got here is a simple console application. So I got a subscription key, which is the key that I copied over from my subscription. And as you can see here, I have got my endpoint. So this is my computer vision endpoint, which I got from Azure. I'll just get into the each and every endpoint specifically here. So before I jump on going and doing that, I'll just quickly show you this URL. So this is the API documentation for the computer vision API, and this is version 2.0. There is a version 1.0 also exists currently. So version 2.0 has got some additional endpoints that you can use than just the version 1.0. So what you can do here is you can look at each and every endpoint, like analyze image. So basically what it allows you to do is you hit this endpoint. These are the request parameters that you can pass. And finally, like what is the body that you will be getting, the response basically. So as you can see here, the JSON for the response is listed here. So this is just a JSON content. And after you get the response, then basically you can use this response and you can interpret or even store it in whatever fashion you want. So this is just a overview, high level overview of like, okay, where do I find the endpoints? What are the different endpoints that are available in computer vision API? Let us see that in action through an example. So for this initial demo, I thought of taking a simple image like a nature image. So basically I want to take this image and give it to computer vision API and say like, okay, describe about this image. So what you can see out of this image and provide me that information. So that's what we are just going to pass through this. So I'm just using the, going to try and use the analyze endpoint. So I've got three options here. One is to analyze an image, describe an image, or tag an image. So I'll walk through each and everything with this first example. So I'm just running the sample here. Great. Just choosing my option. It says like, okay, now it goes back and it uploads that particular nature image which I have sent, and it has given me some JSON output. Trying to scroll through this is going to be not easy. What I have done is I have got the output stored in a text file. So I'll copy this information. put it in a JSON beautifier. Great. So as you can see here, so it's now describing the few things about the image. So it shows like, okay, it belongs to an outdoor category, a ocean or a beach, just in case if people couldn't recollect what was the image I used. This is the image. I uploaded it to the computer vision API, and the information I have got is here. And if you look at here, some of the tags, it automatically detected through the images like water, sky, nature, beach, and also each and every tag has got a confidence level because, for instance, if you are trying to locate for an object in an image and based on that object you want to do certain actions, the confidence level will give you the confidence saying, oh, okay, so the confidence level is 0.9, so I can confidently use this tag, and definitely like I can trust like this particular information or object is there in the image. So that's a confidence level that it provides you. So that's basically, and it gives some metadata about the images, the resolution, like I uploaded it and what is the format I uploaded the image with. So this was quite interesting. So what I did was like, okay, this is a simple nature thing. So one of the cool thing about computer vision API is it can also identify celebrities. So that immediately struck my mind because coming from I was born and brought up back in India, so got really passionate about cricket from childhood. So I thought, okay, let me take a photograph of Sachin Tendulkar, who is a cricket player, and I just wanted to take a complex photograph because if I just give Sachin Tendulkar alone in a photograph, then it can detect easily. So let me try with his whole family. So I just wanted to upload and see like, okay, does it detect a celebrity like Sachin Tendulkar using computer vision API? So I need to just quickly go and stop this and probably change my image here. Great. And let us put this in action. Okay, I will just do analyze the image. Great, so it has run something and given me some output. Let me quickly. No, it hasn't detected in here, but it doesn't mean like it hasn't detected because I didn't provide to include celebrities because there are few tags that you need to include in order to detect celebrities. Just a second. Okay, I'll come back to the Sachin example next because I already got a branding example. So I'll just finish that off before I get back to this. So what I have got here is the next example is around whether computer vision API can detect brands. So I have got quite a few t-shirts here, t-shirt images like an Adidas one, a Microsoft one, and a Nike. So I just was curious to see like, okay, can the vision API can detect these brands? So to put this into action, let us run this example. So I've started with the Microsoft t-shirt. Cool. So as you can see here, like I'll just again put this output back into the JSON. Beautifier here. Great. So it detected it's a clothing, and finally it also detected the brand. So the brand of the clothing is Microsoft, and it is really cool because I think now I can put a whole heap of t-shirt images with different brands, and then probably I should be able to categorize them pretty much quite easily and really handy in situations like retail. So let me quickly run the same sample with the other two images I have got here, which is around Nike. Great, it didn't detect the NAC one for some reason this time. Let me quickly check the image I used. Yeah, I'll use the editors in the meantime. So as you can see here, some of these things are almost changing on a daily basis too. So great. So the Adidas one has been detected. So as you can see here, so that's the example here in terms of the brands gets if you want to detect a particular brand or something, it's quite easy, as you can see here. Great. So we have been using this particular cognitive service. The next thing is more around everyone's mind. What is going on is like, what about the pricing? So like how much do I need to pay in order to utilize the cognitive services here? So if you look at the features, like as I said, you can get the information, like you can get the features like tag, face, generating thumbnails out of the images. That is pretty much quite easy. I don't know, like because I have been doing web development initially in my career, and I worked with a lot of content management systems and during early stages in my career, and we used to write a lot of modules even to create thumbnails out of images. And it was great to see here like how simplified it is. Like you just call an API and it gives you and give the what your dimensions are, and it generates a thumbnail automatically for you. Then you can also have the OCR capability, and it can detect landmarks and celebrities. It can detect brands. So all of these things, like you have the based on the number of transactions you do, and every transaction, like it's $1 per 1,000 transactions or something for getting for each and every features of these things. So as you can see here, depending on the type of transactions, the features that you're using, the prices vary accordingly. So these are the describe, recognize text and things. The recognized text is something new that came out of only in version 2.0. Recognize text is much more providing more OCR capability. I think the previous versions OCR capability, like version 1.0, was good, but a lot of extracting information out of a lot of images was really not that great. And I think they have improved that. And so the version 2.0 is still in preview, but I think it provides you a bit of enhanced feature when it comes to the OCR capability. And currently, this particular function can be used only for the language English in terms of detecting the images. So without any further delay, let us quickly think about how do I use the computer vision API in real world. I think what are the different scenarios where you can use computer vision API in real world. So we had, I work for a company where there are a lot of images that they had, and they were just more interested in, okay, if the image has got a building, we are interested in, because they are related with a building company, and they get a lot of images on a regular basis, like either from the external customers or from a lot of commercials. So they wanted like, okay, quickly scan through the images, and they pretty much had a person or a few people doing this as a day-to-day job, where they have to categorize the images and classify them. So what computer vision API helped them is basically looking scanning through the images and just categorizing them to say like, okay, these image photos has got or images has got buildings in them, and then it categorizes and catalogs them into a separate folder. And also based on the what it has got is their workflow process. We have also incorporated workflow process in it. The first workflow process is basically if the confidence level is like 0.7 and above, then probably no need to review, just automatically just classify that. If it is around 0.5 to 0.7, then probably it requires someone to just quickly have a look at it. And again, this confidence level is to initially to track and to track it in terms of manual reviews, but finally like it will start getting much more tweaked in the later stage. But anything less than that, again, it will definitely needs to be looked or categorized, and probably it won't auto categorize them. It will just say like, okay, look at it when at your leisure, because there is no indications it may have a building. in the image. So I think they pretty much use this, and really it has been handy. It's in early stages, as I said, like the computer vision API usage that they are using, but I think it starting to provide a good example for them. So that is one of the thing, and there is the second use case, which is around. I was working again with a utilities company, and one of their struggling point is around getting a meter reading from their customers. So the meter reading is basically they want to just to get the final reading. Sometimes like some houses, even in New Zealand, we still haven't rolled out the smart meters, which means they are still running in old vanilla meters. And when there is not a person available, when they couldn't read the meter for some reason, then probably like they request the customers to send the meter reading to the utilities company so that they can just update their records accordingly, and then they can just send the bills. And which was a pain for currently, because what happens is they have to build the web forms, like they have to ask them to send, they upload the images, and they upload the images, and then it has to come through an email, and that email needs to be, the images need to be saved, and someone has to look at it, detect the what is the measure, like what is the reading, and then automatically input it into the application. So I'm still working on this example with them, and so we thought like, okay, let us jump on. If I'm about to use computer vision API, like how do I solve this problem for them? So we understand like computer vision API is not the only thing that will solve this problem, because we are not talking about just recognizing the text in images, but also thinking about how do we extract the text and put it downstream into the downstream systems. So, but this demo here is more about focusing on, okay, let us do, if we are basically doing this just an extraction of text out of the images. Let me quickly jump onto this example. So to play with this, like the challenging thing about this example is they have got multiple meters. So it's not like a single type of meter that looks like, and immediately you can say, oh, okay, I'll just detect it. So they have a combination of different type of meters. So this is just a example. I don't have all the images that we have been using. So I'll just show a subset of the images quickly here before we jump into the session. Okay, so this is the digital meter as an example meter where you can see the reading, and this is the number that is required by the company, utilities company, so that they know you take a photo of this, and then we have to extract the reading out of this information. And these are some of the digital meters also, like how we can get the reading, and some legacy meters. So this is the one that is really important for us. So we are still working out in terms of like, okay, how do we, there are many ways we can enhance this idea, but we are just looking at, okay, let us see whether computer vision API can extract image, like information out of this. So again, this application is again the same sample application, just using the recognize text endpoint here, provided with a subscription key. And I have used the legacy meter image here. As you can see, this is the one I've been using. Just going to run the application here. Okay, so the way the recognize text works, it's not just as soon as you send, it recognizes and sends you a response, because sometimes it takes a little bit of time in order to analyze the information and extract the text out of the information. So what it does is basically you submit the image through the REST endpoint. It sends you a status of accepted. Basically, the image has been accepted, but you haven't received a response yet. And then it gives you a callback URL. So this gives you a URL that you can use to call back. And as part of the callback URL, when the information is ready, and you can keep on calling the callback URL until you can get the output from the endpoint. So that's how it is. So it's not like, okay, as soon as you go here and spontaneously you will get the response back. It works in a way saying like you can submit a number of images, and for each and every submission of the images, you'll get a unique callback URL that you can hit and you can get the response back. So as you have, you're seeing here, so this is the JSON for the image that I have uploaded. As usual, I have just stored this into a text file and put this back into a JSON beautifier. Great. As you can see here, this is the number I was just again 40706. This is not the image I was looking at. Quickly 06. So that's the image, that the reading that correlates with that. So when we did some initial runs like this, and we thought like, oh, okay, so this is a best way, rather than asking people to save the image, open the image for each and everything from the email, and then trying to type it in the application. Now we should be able to extract the readings ourselves, and then probably we should be able to just push it back into the target systems. So then the challenge comes into types of like, oh, do we have what type of meters that we have got? And is it a single type of meter or the different type of meters that we have got? Then accordingly, we need to work on it. So what we did is like we put a different type of meter, which is the digital meter image, just to see whether that gets picked up. So let me quickly submit that. So while it is running, I have already got the output run successfully. Good. So I'll put this back into the JSON beautifier. Great. So if I scroll down here, so 95732. So we quickly go and jump onto this. So 95732. So as you can see here, like it just getting into the idea of like how it can detect the images and the text out of and extract the text out of those images. And it's getting really clever, like with the version both more than the version 1 API, the version 2 API, especially they recognize text. They have put a lot of effort in terms of getting getting the text extracted out of the images, and it is really coming out well. So the plan for us is now looking at what are the different type of meters that we have got and getting a catalog of those images and then probably do that. So we may start using computer vision API just to extract the text, but I think we are also have got thinking in our pipeline like using like custom vision, because like the meters are specific to the utilities industry. So and then we have got a predefined set of meters. So we thought of thinking about, oh, okay, so we can do more things other than just extracting the reading alone. If we have trained and created our model that is specific to our domain. So that thinking is also like currently going on while we are working on this. But the main idea to show here is how quickly it is easy to extract the information out of the images. So just a few things in the previous example, which I missed to show off. So let me quickly run that. So there were multiple options here because I kept on clicking on option 1. Just to give you a quick idea on what these options are about. So we looked at this. So I'll just get into computer vision quickly here. Great. So as you look here, so the key things that you can get out of the analyze image endpoint is around you can detect the objects, you can detect the brands, you can categorize an image, you can describe an image, you can detect the faces, like the dimensions, like where a particular face of a person is. It can detect different image types, any domain specific content, like the celebrities and the landmarks. and it can detect the color scheme. It can generate a thumbnail and so on. So as you can see here, it can do more than just extracting just text out of images. In this example, just I want to quickly say like, okay, show me all the tags. So the analyze gave everything, but if you want interested only in getting the tags out of the images, you can just specify only, okay, I have just given that clothing thing. So I got in the tags related to the particular image. So I can do a lot of things here saying like, okay, if I have a clothing or the fashion or apparel or something like that, then that helps me into further define my classification of my images. The next thing is around describing an image. So basically, again, describing is basically it gives you some captions, just a brief description of what cognitive services computer vision API thinks about the image. Like, okay, in this case, it says like a person with a collar shirt. And so basically, I had just a shirt image only. I haven't have a person, but I think that's what it has described about that image. So similarly, like for the different images, if you want to just have like a description, and I don't know how many of you think about if you think about like alt tags, which is the alternative text on images. A lot of images people put on the websites which may not have the relevant alternative text, and some of these things will help us to just automatically tag those images and categorize them. So it says like, okay, it gives you a caption for your image, as well as you can just link them with the, okay, these are the tags associated with that image. So downstream, these things will help you in further, like how to say, what do you do with those images? You can decide based on these type of tags and captions. Great. So getting back to the presentation. So as I said, like computer vision API has got a lot of, you have a lot of opportunities in terms of using it in the real world scenarios. And we have already starting to work on with a few clients around using computer vision API and how it can help them in to solve their problems. And as you can look at it, these are problems like which people may not be really interested in sitting and doing. So trying to look at 300 or 400 images per day is not a simple job or not a fun job. So I think trying to automate these things, which means they can just focus on some valuable work rather than doing this monotonous work. And that's what we are aiming towards, working with companies and explaining them how computer vision API can add value for them. There are a few references, as I said, like I would like to link you back. So the first one is more around the API definition. So the API definition basically for every single endpoint that you want to use. I think the API definition will allow you to explain you exactly how to use it, what is the request parameters you need to send, and what is the response that you'll be receiving. The second link is around the introduction about the cognitive services, like what are the different type of cognitive services available. And there are some examples just on the Microsoft website itself. You can just upload an image and immediately you can see what JSON comes out of it. So they have got a application just in that particular embedded in that particular web page itself. So you don't need to build a console application in order to try and learn about what cognitive services tells about an image. So if you want to just to give a try about one or two images as a trial and test, just jump onto the website and just upload the image and see what it tries to describe about the image and whether it matches your thinking. And the next URL is more specifically onto the computer vision service, saying, as I showed you, like what are the different things that you can do with computer vision service and how can you utilize them. So before I hand over, I'll quickly show some parts of the code if you're really interested. And great. So this is the one which I used for the extracting the meter reading images. So as you can see, I have used the recognize text endpoint. So this endpoint, the key thing I was mentioning about this endpoint is great. So we basically send the image, upload the image, and we get accepted status. So accepted is your status code is 202, and what it allows you to do is like you get a a callback URL. So that callback URL is basically available in the operation location. So this comes as part of your response initially. Your response header will have a URL. And so if you want to specifically look into this, I'll just run it in debug mode. In order to do that, I need to choose the right solution first. Just a sec. Just put that as my startup project. So it will hit into the breakpoint I have set up, which is around, that gives me, so this is the location. So as you can see here, so the response is now, I didn't get the response for directly. So what I really got is a callback URL in here. So this callback URL is something I need to hit again in order to get the response. And that's what the subsequent pieces of the code does. And this allows you, because what happens is like you don't need to real-time synchronously waiting for that. You can just get things to be submitted. A lot of images get submitted. Just record the callback URL and then conveniently call them, because they are valid, available until 24 hours. So you should be able to call them and then store the responses. So finally, you get the output of that. So the recognize text method alone, the endpoint alone works in this fashion. So just in case, if you look at this example is a bit different than the other ones, exactly for this reason, where it needed a bit more time in order to analyze the image to extract the text out of that. So basically you can fire and forget it, and then probably you will just get a URL, callback URL, which you can call it back at a later stage. So that's how the recognize text endpoint works. Great. So that's it. Basically, I wanted to cover off as part of today's session is just to give an introduction about the Azure Cognitive Services, and probably just a drilling into computer vision API, and just an introduction how to use computer vision API, as well as like what are some of the real world scenarios where computer vision API can be used and it can be valuable. So if there are any questions, I'm happy to take now, or I'm happy to just get the questions at a later stage and then respond to it, whichever way that works. Michael, I'll just over to you.
Okay. If nobody has any questions, we'll go on to the next slide, and thank you all for attending.
Sure. I'll just move on to the next one.
You want to stay tuned. The next presentation at the top of the hour is data science with Power BI desktop. So if you want to stick around and reconnect to that, that is certainly going to be also a good session. And again, you will receive these slides, or a link to the slides, via email at some point in time, probably by next week. And those will all have any type of all the information that Anu had provided, and you can dig into this yourself. I want to thank everyone for attending.
Great. And thanks to PAS for providing me this opportunity. And yeah, feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or anything that you want to just get in touch with me regarding the presentation. And thanks for attending. And here are my details that you can use to reach out to me if you have any questions down the line. Great. Thank you.